Oh my God!
Oh wow, I'll never look at VHS the same way again. Welcome, y'all. Taylor James Johnson here, and I'm totally loving the 80s because the 80s was the decade of David Cronenberg, giving us some amazing body horror that made us think and disgusted us at the same time. And one of his best, maybe his best film ever, Videodrome, starring James Woods and Blondie, like the rock star Blondie is in this movie. It makes statements about, I don't know what it's trying to say, but imagine what it would be saying nowadays with our streaming and our internet. Actually, we live in Videodrome now. I'm having some horrible epiphanies right now. But yeah, Videodrome. Let's revisit it.
According to Cronenberg in the Criterion DVD audio commentary, the filmmaker drew inspiration for Videodrome from his childhood in Toronto, Canada, where he would illegally intercept American TV signals from Buffalo, New York, while staying up late at night after his local Canadian stations ended their broadcast. Cronenberg was terrified of witnessing content on pirated American channels he was not meant to see, including disturbing imagery that was not geared for mainstream public consumption. This spark of an idea ignited Cronenberg's torrid imagination. Quote, "I've always been interested in dark things and other people's fascinations with dark things. Plus, the idea of people locking themselves in a room and turning a key on a television set so they can watch something extremely dark, and by doing that allowing themselves to explore their fascinations." Cronenberg also adapted the provocative themes of hyper-violence blended with lurid sexuality from his treatment for Network of Blood in the 1970s, a movie idea that also featured a protagonist that worked for a low-budget independent TV company that would ultimately evolve into the character of Max Renn in Videodrome. According to Cronenberg, the initial idea for the underground TV station was to explore, quote, "a private television network subscribed to by strange, wealthy people who were willing to pay to see bizarre things." Once the premise was locked, the plan was to tell the story from the protagonist's first-person perspective, highlighting the dichotomy between how insane the character looks in the eyes of the public and how he himself perceives the altered states of reality happening inside his own mind. Cronenberg also incorporated elements from Network of Blood in the 1977 TV episode of the Canadian TV program Peep Show entitled The Victim.
You're a head! That's what you are! Head!
It was a joke.
Oh, I see.
Giving the filmmaker an architectural blueprint that proved invaluable when it came time to write the screenplay for Videodrome. In a sly bit of social commentary, Cronenberg named the Civic TV station after the real-life Canadian station City TV, which was known for airing lurid pornographic material and ultra-violent movies during midnight broadcasts. During the film, one of Renn's partners is named Moses, which is a bald reference to City TV's actual founder. Thanks to the financial success of the film Scanners in 1981, Cronenberg was able to secure funding for Videodrome much easier than he did early in his career on Shivers and Rabid. The success of Scanners allowed Cronenberg to obtain a production budget of $5.5 million from the Canadian Film Board and draw interest from various producers, studios, and above and below the line talent.
Look, we're back.
Believe it or not, Cronenberg turned down the chance to helm Return of the Jedi to make Videodrome instead,
Long live the new flesh.
citing his lack of interest in directing material produced by other filmmakers as the chief reason why. While Cronenberg would have been an odd choice to oversee a Star Wars movie in the first place, his steadfast willingness to stick to his own creative sensibility only makes the filmmaker more respectable. After declining to direct Return of the Jedi, Cronenberg reunited with producer Pierre David after collaborating with him on The Brood and Scanners, and pitched him two different ideas, one of which was Videodrome. The first draft of Videodrome was penned in January 1981. As often the case with Cronenberg's writing process, The initial draft featured wildly outlandish sequences that had to be excised in order to make the material more palatable for wide audiences. In the scripting phase, Cronenberg actually axed the physiological element of Max Renn that would have featured an explosive grenade in place of his chopped-off flesh gun. The original draft of Videodrome also included Renn and Nikki melting into an object after sharing a kiss, which in turn melted a nearby witness. There were also 5 additional characters dying of cancer, like Barry Convex, who was modeled after American televangelist and convicted fraudster Jim Orson Baker. Furthermore, the character of Professor Bryant Oblivion was based on famed scholar Marshall McLuhan, who Cronenberg studied under at the University of Toronto. McLuhan coined the phrases hot and cool media in relation to the TV screen and its content, a thematic fulcrum for Cronenberg to spin his creative wheels around and sinisterly subvert in the film. Another key scene that was omitted from the screenplay right before it was scheduled to be filmed included a hallucinatory reverie in which Renn's TV rises out of a bathtub after displaying a harrowing image. The production went through painstaking efforts to achieve the sequence, including placing James Woods in a bathtub and filling it up with clear non-conductive liquid. However, at $25 a quart, the process proved to be too expensive. In the end, the SFX team waterproofed the interior of the TV monitor using layers of insulation, which worked like a charm actually after testing the method in a swimming pool. Despite the TV floating to the surface due to the large vacuum fixed into the picture tube, the effect was nixed at the last moment. The director was certain that his original draft would be roundly rebuked by the independent company Film Plan International due to the extreme violence and sleazy sexuality. Much to his surprise, the script was approved despite Cronenberg's longtime producer Claude Herault joking that the film was destined to receive a XXX rating. With the script in shootable shape by the summer of '81, casting on Videodrome began in earnest. Producers suggested casting James Woods for the lead role of Max Renn, persistently following up on their failed attempt to cast the actor in a movie called Models a year prior. Because Woods was such a fan of Rabbit and Scanners, he agreed to meet with Cronenberg in Beverly Hills to discuss the part. Per the DVD commentary, Cronenberg appreciated how articulate Woods' line delivery was, and according to other sources, Woods reciprocated the sentiment for Cronenberg's strange style and for being a good conversationalist who exuded a lot of power. As for the casting of Debbie Harry, aka Blondie, for the role of Nikki Brand, it was producer Pierre David that suggested the pop rocker for the role. Once Cronenberg studied Harry's performance in the 1980 movie Union City in repeat viewings, he agreed to audition her for the part in Toronto. Harry credits Woods for assisting her with plenty of helpful tips while making the movie, something she relied on having never played such a large speaking part before. Ironically enough, Blondie goes full redhead in the film, subverting her own pop image in lockstep with Cronenberg's own sense of anti-mainstream rebellion. Principal photography on Videodrome commenced in Toronto on October 19, 1981, and lasted until the early hours of December 24th. As a non-negotiable stipulation for being funded by the Canadian government, production had to be completed before the end of the calendar year and included a hard cutoff date, forcing Cronenberg to begin filming without a completed shooting script and with very little preparation time. While he did have the original script he thought would be rejected in tow, it served more as a guiding prototype while making the movie that would be pared down as time went on. While production had until December 31st to use the funds provided by the government, Cronenberg aimed to complete the film by Christmas Eve so that the cast and crew could enjoy the holidays with their families. According to Criterion, the first week of the 2-month film shoot was dedicated to recording the video monitor insert shots of Brian Oblivion's and the softcore pornographic simulation Samurai Dreams and Apollo and Dionysus. The camera used to film the video monitor sequences was the Hitachi SK91, with Samurai Dreams filmed without any audio recorded at a global TV studio rental space. The sequence took half a day to complete and lasted 5 minutes longer than what appears in the final cut of the film. Despite disliking the flat 2D TV format and feeling very uncomfortable filming violent sex scenes, cinematographer Mark Irwin stayed on board throughout the production. Irwin was much more comfortable filming with typical movie cameras than lo-fi videotapes and felt creatively hamstrung by the entire crew being able to see his lighting and camera setups, rather than having the privacy of blocking and arranging shots as he would on normal movie sets. One of the best decisions Cronenberg made during production was hiring Oscar-winning makeup effects legend Rick Baker to handle the film's unique aesthetic. Baker retained many of his 20-something crewmates, whose average age was 23 years old, from American Werewolf in London, the first film in history to win an Oscar for Best Special Makeup, to work work on Videodrome. As such, it's time to dive into the nitty-gritty of how Baker, Cronenberg, and special effects supervisor Michael Lennick achieved some of the sickest, surrealist, and most nightmarish moments that continue to withstand the test of time and haunt the memories of cinephiles everywhere. For the TV featured in the film, a real-life Teleranger model was used. According to Baker, the model was chosen because it was large enough to house the mechanical effects inside the physical apparatus. The SFX team built several models during production in order to test various methods, with Baker leading the experimental charge to push the envelope in ways for the technology to match the ambitions of Cronenberg's screenplay. According to Baker, I knew we would need a flexible material, and we tested it with a weather balloon first, stretching it over a flame the size of a TV screen and pushed a hand through it to see how far it stretched. According to Michael Lennick, it was a laborious effort to get the TV prop just right. We were originally going to do it as a blue screen effect. We were looking at various types of material. Blue gelatin was one substance that we were working with, in which the actor could literally dunk his head into the stuff. Luckily, before submerging James Woods in a vat of jello, a more artful solution was created. Harkening back to lo-fi technology featured in King Kong, Baker and Lennick came up with a way to create the heaving TV screen by using a projector and a sheet of dental dam layered with extremely reflective white paint. Dental dam was used in the early Hollywood days as a means for rear projection, which Baker noted was a nice sensual thing that James Woods could caress and it would respond. As for the freaky breathing screen effects in the film, Baker said in 2012 that it was achieved by first using a film camera to record a TV screen playing a performance of Debbie Harry. The footage was then rear projected through a large airtight plexiglass chamber onto an inflatable rubber sheet inside the television. This allowed the TV to contract and expand as needed for the scene, which required the efforts of the physical, makeup, and video effects teams. I knew we would need a flexible material, he said. We tested with a weather balloon first. He also said, I got the script and it had all this crazy ass stuff in it. I was like, how the hell am I gonna do this? Adding that Videodrome was one of the strangest assignments I've ever had. Indeed, Baker's typical puppeteering methods included employing pullable wires, cables, and pressure controls. However, the Teleranger TV was too large to perform such a technique. Instead, the physical effects supervisor came up with the idea to rig a keyboard organ with an air valve compressor pump, allowing the TV to balloon, restrict, and eerily undulate as needed. It was something that evolved, he said. I was trying to figure out how to control the maximum number of switches with my hands, and then would I need 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, or more? There was a lot of tweaking, but Rick seemed very happy with the results. So we went ahead, and every night after shooting for a good week or 10 days, I stayed late just to work on the keyboard, and ultimately it gave us the control we needed.
I would have started with lasers. 8 o'clock, day 1.
The videotapes inserted in the Renn's slit stomach cavity during the movie were actually Betamax cassettes, which were chosen because VHS cassettes were too large to fit properly inside the abdominal puncture. Woods found the stomach slit effect physically uncomfortable and began running out of patience with it, once lamenting that, I am not an actor anymore. I'm just the bearer of the slit, after a long day of filming while attached to the apparatus. The stomach slit sequence required Woods to be placed inside a couch built around him with the physical apparatus glued to his chest. Woods was apparently so irate that he vowed to never have anything glued onto him for a movie ever again. As a playful form of payback, while filming the scene in which Renn shoots cold vaporous gas from his flesh gun, Woods painted his hand with blue paint prior to a take and briefly convinced Cronenberg that his hand was frostbitten. When designing Renn's iconic flesh gun, Baker originally conceived the prop to feature eyes, a mouth, and a foreskin, which Cronenberg found too graphic and discarded it before it was even created. In terms of the visual representations of cancer caused by Renn's flesh gun, several tests were used to achieve the effect. Baker initially considered using solvents to distort the facial appearances, but opted against the method upon realizing his longtime mentor Dick Smith used the same technique on spasms in 1977 and didn't want to appear like a phony copycat. In the end, it was Baker's idea to show the cancer tumors erupting out of Barry's body, which required the FX crew to operate a dummy of Barry's body from beneath the set. The effect where Barry Convex is coming apart, we had people under the set with their hands in these hot, melt vinyl cancer puppets that had to come up, and we had guys that were operating the arms of it and somebody else working some other part of the head. I remember after we shot the Barry Convex body, all of us coming back to the hotel completely covered in this fake blood, this Caro sort of blood that is sticky as hell. and our shirts are stuck to us and we got it in our hair. It looked like we'd been in some horrible accident. As for the distorted visual effects that occurs when Renn whips the TV set, Michael Lennick created a device he called the Videodromer to achieve such. Lennick also wanted to use Renn's Videodrome helmet to create disorienting glitch and twitch effects that were ultimately scrapped before filming due to time and money concerns. One thing casual and die-hard fans of the film may not know is that 3 different endings were filmed for the movie. The one used in the final cut was suggested by Woods, which ends with Renn shooting himself in the derelict ship. However, according to Cronenberg, an epilogue was originally planned but never filmed. The post-film sequence would have taken place after Renn's suicide, in which he, Bianca, and Nikki appear on the Videodrome set, where the 2 women are shown to have bizarre biotech sex organs protruding from their own stomach slits that resemble Renn. According to Cronenberg, after the suicide, Max ends up on the Videodrome set with Nikki, hugging and kissing and neat stuff like that. A happy ending? Well, it's my version of a happy ending. Boy meets girl on the Videodrome set with the clay wall maybe covered in blood, but I'm not sure. Freudian rebirth imagery, pure and simple. Cronenberg attributed the dismissal of the epilogue to his own atheist beliefs, likening Renn's resurrection to a connection to the afterlife, something the director does not believe in. With the Christmas Eve production deadline fast approaching, Cronenberg and his FX team had one final shot to complete, which turned out to be such a disgusting moment on the set that many of those involved in the making of Videodrome remain haunted by it. To achieve the shot of human brains jutting from the TV screen at the end of the film, real-life sheep guts were shot out of an air cannon. Acquiring the sheep guts was another situation entirely. It took a week from the time the sheep guts were acquired and when the effect was shot. By the time it came to filming, the overwhelming stench of rotten sheep guts was so strong, it immediately cleared the room. Unfortunately, the sheep guts air cannon effect did not work as intended on the first take, requiring the entire crew to toil for an additional 6 hours on one of the last days of a tiresome schedule to get it right. After the valves of the air cannon were cranked wider, the effect worked like a charm, which is what is seen in the film. The production finished the shot in the early hours of Christmas Eve. Once principal photography was concluded, Cronenberg reassembled his crew for a week of pickup shots in the spring of '82 to capture footage they were unable to during production and shoot new footage to accommodate what was cut in the editing room. Quote, "It was cut together in a manner that made it more than what we had shot." According to location manager David Coatsworth, the phrase "the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of its individual parts," it's a movie that has really stood the test of time. It's a classic. Cronenberg's longtime musical collaborator Howard Shore created the trippy soundscape for the film, which was meant to orally represent the hallucinatory headspace that Renn and the others experience, starting with classic orchestration that slowly devolves into electronic synth sounds. Shore achieved the feat by composing the entire soundtrack for an orchestra before recording it on a Synclavier 2 digital synthesizer. The synth recording was then played along with a small string section, creating a haunting, otherworldly effect. All of the combined organic, practical, physical, and DIY special effects is one of the main reasons why Videodrome retains such an original aesthetic, and no doubt one of the chief reasons why the film has attained all-time beloved cult status over the years. Unfortunately for all the excellent work that went into the making of Videodrome, the film took a financial drubbing at the box office when it was released on February 4th, 1983. With a final production budget of $5.9 million, the film failed to earn even half its money back, netting a total of $2.1 million in international sales. The film was declared a box office bomb, but luckily enough for Cronenberg, his adaptation of Stephen King's The Dead Zone, released the same year, became a hit big enough to allow the director to soar to new heights with his follow-up, The Fly, which nearly tripled its budget at the box office and solidified Cronenberg as a bona fide filmmaker in the eyes of Hollywood. Yet, aside from the financial failure of Videodrome, the film drew endless praise from critics and filmgoers for its outlandish vision and original fusion of body horror and lofty sci-fi tropes that would become synonymous with Cronenberg's filmmaking style. Interestingly enough, despite Videodrome not being released on VHS and DVD until the late 90s, the film's popular word of mouth became so strong that it won a slew of awards in 1984, including 8 Genie Award nominations and a win for Cronenberg's direction, which he shared with Bob Clark for his stellar work in the holiday film A Christmas Story. Of course, Clark also helmed Black Christmas a decade prior, giving the directors an inextricable horror link for their careers. The grand irony is that, while A Christmas Story was a box office hit at the time and has since become an annual TV mainstay, Videodrome overcame its poor box office performance to become nearly as popular in horror and sci-fi circles. In 2010, Videodrome was listed by the Toronto International Film Festival as the 89th most essential film in history, cementing the film as an all-time great despite its financial failings at the time of release. And that's essentially what the happened to Videodrome. The film entered production without a completed screenplay, took 2 months to film under a tightly mandated deadline by a Canadian government that funded the project, featured an incredibly inventive time for a young team of makeup, practical, and video effects collaborators working under the supervision of the great Rick Baker, leading to some of the most inspired and innovative special effects work of the 1980s that, despite its commercial hiccups at the time, has remained in the collective conscious of pop culture 40 years later as one of the most outlandishly original, sexily surreal, nastily nightmarish, deeply disturbing, yet oddly arousing cinematic curios ever committed to celluloid. Sometimes a movie becomes a cult classic for all the wrong reasons. However, Videodrome proves that the merits of high-quality work will inevitably find its audience and become celebrated for what it continues to give to audiences generation after generation. Long live the new flesh indeed.
Civic TV, the one you take to bed with you.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. Joe Blow was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.